We continue with the life story of Joseph as recorded in Genesis chapter 39. Remember, he'd been sold into slavery by his brothers and hauled off to Egypt, where he found himself in Potiphar's home. Because the Lord was with Joseph, God blessed him in everything that he did. The favour of God was on him. Potiphar recognised in Joseph someone very special, a man whom he could trust to run his home and his business dealings in his absence. He saw that with Joseph in charge that everything went well in his household. In a word, Joseph was trustworthy. Now, I really should put a caveat on this week's message, AO, adults only. Why? Because it seems that Satan used that old trick on Joseph when a beautiful lady showed interest in him. Verse 6 of 39 describes Joseph as being very handsome and well built. And it goes on to say that Potiphar's wife noticed. And it seems that she wasn't all that subtle in her approach. However, Joseph stood his ground. Day after day she played up to him, until one day, after putting a lot of pressure on Joseph, and because there was no one else around, she made her move, grabbed his cloak, but Joseph quickly pulled himself away, leaving that cloak behind. Now, Mrs. Potiphar was one of those people who was used to her own way, it seems, and did not like the feeling of rejection. So she turned the tables and screamed for help, and then laid the blame squarely on Joseph. Look what he tried to do to me. She made herself to be the victim. Now, I know for many that are listening to this message that there may well be some pain here as you listen again to this story. You've been wronged. For others, you've been unfairly blamed. In these situations, it's often seemed as though no one will listen to your explanation and to the facts. Something has gone wrong and it's caused a lot of pain. We are to be a people of integrity, honest and faithful in all that we do, and like Joseph, must stand firm in the face of temptation. Meanwhile, Potiphar's wife kept Joseph's cloak until her husband came home from work. And then she said, well, she probably sobbed and shouted, that Hebrew slave that you brought into our house tried to wrong me. Now Potiphar was getting the blame as well. The end result was, of course, that Joseph was thrown into prison, and there he remained, Genesis tells us. When things go wrong, it seems that they go wrong. Do you ever wonder, where is God in all of this? Have I been forgotten again? How will this ever work out? There are some moments when we could just about sit in a dark corner and cry or sob. I encourage you, if you find yourself under trying circumstances, to reflect upon Joseph's story and notice his trust in God. Now, it did take a long time to work out in a way, but as the old saying goes, watch this space. As we read on, we see that Joseph continued with his faithfulness to God through those tough times, and although in prison, once again, he found favour with the prison guard. And it wasn't long, and Joseph was in charge of the other prisoners and over everything that happened in the prison. Verse 23 says, the warden had no more worries because Joseph took care of everything. The Lord was with him and caused him to succeed in everything he did. It was who he was. It was in his DNA, if you like. God was with him, and it showed, even under difficult circumstances. Just a few comments about the situation that Joseph found himself in. A lot of young men particularly would run toward this, but Joseph recognised that what Potiphar's wife wanted was wrong in the eyes of God, so he ran from it. He saw it for what it was, sin. In these days of so-called liberation, our culture has become quite depraved and broken. Like Joseph, we need to call out sin and to run from it. Knowingly turn your eyes away when there is something that it is better that we not see. God will give you all that you need exactly when you need it, so stand firm under his protection. What did Joseph do when he was faced with this confronting scene? He ran as fast as he could. To put it simply, he was out of there. Joseph knew that sin always has a consequence. I learned a little ditty in Sunday school many years ago. You may know it. I might recite it rather than sing it. Yield not to temptation, for yielding is sin. Each victory will help you another to win. Fight valiantly on, would dark passions subdue. Look ever to Jesus, he will carry you through. As you begin each day in prayer, ask the Lord to be with you and to protect him. Trust him for those little nudges that keep you from stepping into those dangerous places. Trust him to keep you safe. Let me finish this with this scriptural thought. Although slightly out of context, I understand that God sends his angels to protect us. Know this, that those who call upon the name of the Lord will be saved. Have a wonderful week and stay safe.